Hi.
This is Mike Sylvia. We're here covering tonight to introduce you to the politicians that are running in October 3rd New Bedford elections. I'm now with Ward 1 candidate Chris Amaral, and he's going to tell us why you should vote for him this year.
Hi, I'm Chris Amaral. I'm running for Ward 1 City Council. The reason why I'm running, well, to introduce myself, I've lived in the city of New Bedford my entire life. I went through the New Bedford school system from K through 12. I went to New Bedford High, graduated with honors, went to the JROTC program. I ended up going to UMass Dartmouth, double majored in history and French, graduated magna cum laude. And then I ended up going to, got the opportunity to go abroad and get my master's degree in history from the University of Glasgow in Scotland. When I came back, I decided to put my degree to work and work in my old alma mater. I started working as a substitute teacher at New Bedford High School and teaching, substitute teaching while I got my teaching degree over there. I was there for about a year and a half, helping out kids. I loved helping out tutoring kids. I turned just about every class that I substitute taught into a history class at some point. And now I'm teaching at Bristol Community College as an adjunct professor of history. The reason why I'm running is because, having lived in this city essentially my entire life, the past, I'll say 5 years or so, I've seen this city grow into something that is something that I didn't think that was possible when I was a lot younger. I'm seeing a lot of businesses come up. And downtown is starting to look better and better. Our neighborhoods are starting to become much more vibrant. And I want to be part of that New Bedford renaissance, that I want to have a piece of helping my community come up now that I'm able to run. So that's essentially my vision for New Bedford is just pushing, seeing the good things that we've got done in this city already, and just augmenting it and just making it better and better, and seeing what problems we have, and trying to address those problems as best as I can in my capacity as a city councilor if I'm elected.
Okay, we'll move on to the questions. So Craig asks, what's your stance on the fire stations being blacked out?
I think it's dangerous. I live in the far north end in Sasquin, and there's been a number of incidents where there have been people who have had to call for either a heart attack, for extreme cases, heart attacks or strokes or whatever, or even just a less severe emergencies. And they've had to wait an extremely long time, 20, 30, 40 minutes, in order to get somebody to come to their house. And by the time it comes up, and sometimes it's dire, it's a dire situation. So that's something that definitely needs to be addressed. I know that the budget issue is the big thing that's the problem with that. But if I'm elected, that's one of the priorities that I'm going to be working on.
So Chuck asked about panhandlers. What do you think? Is there a solution for them, or are they fine where they're at?
It's definitely not fine the way that it is. It's unfortunately the way that the state law has set things up in the Mass Supreme Court. What we can do is limited on the city council, but certain things, putting up roadblocks, putting up certain physical structures, that's one thing for people who are panhandlers but not in desperate need, who are trying to just kind of get money from people. The people who desperately need money, and there are a lot of people out there who desperately need help, that's where programs, that's where we need to start looking at why this situation is coming up, what are the what's bringing people to this point in their life where they have to panhandle, and how can we mitigate that issue? So it's a dual process of trying to help the people who really do need the help, and for people who are just trying to hurt residents in New Bedford, and to hurt the actual people who are homeless in the city by disincentivizing people from giving money. So it's a two-pronged problem here. So it's definitely something that has to be addressed.
Okay, so Penny Cruz asked, what can you do to promote renewable energy in New Bedford?
Well, renewable energy is one of the things that, one of the big things that I'm trying to push. So one thing that I definitely want to do is, as a member of the city council, I'm going to be advocating at the State House, writing letters, advocating for people like Representative Cabral, who are pushing things like the South Coast Wind and other renewable programs. So I want to be advocating for that as much as I can be on the state level, getting money and funding and all that stuff for that. But I also want to, we're going to be having, I guess, the new industrial park that's coming up. I would love to see renewable energy manufacturing there. So not only just bringing the energy sector, the systems that are coming here, the solar panels, and having people in New Bedford using that, but I also want to create jobs. I want, either light or heavy manufacturing to be able to create the solar panels and the fans for the propellers for the South Coast Wind turbines and all that stuff. So that's one of my big issues.
So Dawn asks, what's your stance on drug addicts being revived several times with Narcan?
I think, so talking about people who are
Someone overdoses, they get hit with Narcan?
Right.
And then the second time, then a third time, is there an end to that, or is it what's
I think
the solution, I guess?
the solution is to bring down the opioid problem. I don't think it should be a death sentence that because this is third strike or fourth strike, you're out. I don't think that somebody should come to a situation and say, oh, well, I want to look at my iPad, how many times have I seen this guy or whatever, and oh, no, he has to die now. I think that's a terrible policy idea. What we do need to do is bring down the amount of people that are affected by opioids. And that also is a two-pronged thing. Number one, you have to work with addiction specialists, local doctors, local social workers, politicians, like what Chief Cadero has done with putting these opioid awareness seminars and public hearings. So definitely more of that, definitely putting the word out and saying, what can we do to help not only the addicts, but the family members themselves who are affected by this, and treating it as a medical issue. The second part of it is, just lost my train of thought.
It's okay, I'll move to the next one.
Okay, no problem.
So Craig asks, how do you plan to work with the police to make the city safer?
So I think there are some things that we can do to make it safer. There's been talk about maybe putting certain cameras in certain high crime areas. There's talk of community policing. There's a number of things that we can advocate. One thing, going back to the opioid thing, one of the big things is the gang problem. And what's the big one thing that's fueling this gang problem is the drugs that they're selling. So if you tackle the opioid issue and we tackle the gang issue as part of that, because it's not just, you can't just put a seal around each of these issues. They feed off of each other. So if we attack major issue like that, the other issues will shrink.
Okay, Sylvia Alina asks, what can you bring to the table that other candidates can't? So what do you have to offer that others don't?
What do I have to offer? One thing that I can offer is that I've worked in a number of capacities. I know that some people have worked as police officers or as social workers, but I've worked in a number of different settings around the city. I've worked in the schools, so I know I have probably a better sense than some people as to what can reach people and how do we mitigate a lot of these problems. The big thing is the crime problem. How do we mitigate some of these? How do we turn some of these students away from crime, because I've worked in the high school, and I've talked to some of these students, and I know why a lot of them turn to, do the things that they do, or at least I've talked to them, and they've, so I have a good understanding of their motivations in that sense.
Okay, let's see here. So Wayne asks, what is your vision of Pulaski Park?
The Pulaski Park, it's probably the worst conditioned park in New Bedford, or one of the worst conditioned parks in New Bedford. And a lot of people don't even realize that it is a park. I live right around there, so I know all the issues surrounding the Pulaski Park and the Braley Road issue. It needs to be updated. There have been parks that have been updated around the city, and I think the people in especially the far north end, feel that their taxpayer money should be going should be going to them. Like, if they're going to be paying taxes, they should be going to them. And I think that's one big thing that people in that far north end area really like, so are really concerned about. So I think the park really needs a makeover. Okay,
so we're out of time. So there's a few questions on it. You can go back and answer for the folks out there. So this was Chris Amaral for Ward 1 candidate for City Council. Next up at 6:15 is Kate Towers for Ward 5. Thanks, Chris.
All right, thank you.